Hey everybody, Brett from Starters Gaming here, back with the latest iteration of our Cortex Command Let's Play. And so this was going to be the first episode of the new campaign, but I decided, three or 4 days wasn't really enough time for you guys to get your suggestions in on which factions we should go up against. So today what I thought we'd do is we'll go into scenario battle, and we're going to take a look at the different factions available. We're going to be playing, as I said before, as the Ultramarines, but there's a couple options of who we're going to go up against. So that's what I wanted. Okay, so bodies. Let's go into the Imperium of Man. This is so terrible. It's so frustrating. Okay. And so we'll start out with, we're only going to touch the Ultramarines, so just these guys down here. We're going to leave all the Imperial Guardsmen alone up here. So let's just start with the basic Scout. And we'll give him a, let's see, guns, Imperium of Man. Oops, it was already open. The Stalker Bolter is here, and we could just use that, but this weapon was considerably cheaper. Ah, here it is, Marine Sniper Rifle. So let's call in... my mouse keeps jumping outside the window, and the game doesn't like that. It's not very easy to play like this, and I'm really hoping I could get this back working in full screen. Basically, OBS had a patch, and well, that thing has some pretty ridiculous zoom on it. Okay, so this is our Ultramarine Scout. They don't have jetpacks, but they can jump really, really far. And as you can see, these weapons have pretty ridiculous range. So yeah, that is our Ultramarine Scout. Let's take a look at what else we've got. This is so frustrating. I'm going to minimize my window in the background here. Oh, it will not let me. Okay, never mind. Won't be doing that then. Not worth the effort. Okay, so we've got Ultramarine Assault Recon, which is basically the same guy with a jetpack. And so let's just give him a bolter pistol and drop him in there. We'll take a look at him. And so this does add a little bit more dynamics to the game, because now not every single person has jetpacks. So you can see, he's got pretty ridiculous range too. And apparently he doesn't take fall damage. But yeah, you can get around a lot faster with these than the vanilla jetpacks. You can also make a fool of yourself even easier. Okay, so let's look at the actual Space Marines now. And then we'll get into some of the different races. So we'll just look at the standard Ultramarine. There's also an assault variant of the Ultramarine, which is going to be the exact same thing, but with the jetpack we just saw added on. And then there's a sergeant, who's going to be a little bit sturdier than the regular Ultramarine, and it'll look a little bit different. And then there's an assault version of him as well. We're just going to look at the Ultramarine and the Ultramarine sergeant. We'll ignore the assault ones, because they're not going to be any different, again, other than the jetpack. And let's give him a bolter, since we haven't seen the bolter yet. And that's your cut and dry Space Marine weapon. That's, when you think of a Space Marine weapon, that's the first one to come to mind. Let's see. And so here is our regular Space Marine. Again, no jetpack, so he can jump. Apparently he can double jump in the air, which is kind of interesting. And the bolters absolutely wreck stuff. They also reload really quickly. But you can see they penetrate a lot further than most of the standard guns did in our previous playthrough. Now I'm going to call in a sergeant. We'll look at one of the melee weapons, because there are a couple. I don't think they actually do anything. Let's call in the assault one, just because, again, it won't be any different than the other one. Just the fact that he has the jetpack. We'll call in a plasma pistol as well, and then let's see. There should be like some kind of sword. There should be either a chain sword or like a force sword. Actually, maybe they're under tools. Let's take a look at tools. Just a melta cutter, so no. Shields maybe. Yeah, I think it's under shields because I don't think they actually do anything. So let's give him a power sword just because that'll look cool. And we'll call him in on a drop crate because why not? Alright. So let's see. Apparently he shoots his own shield, so that's kind of unfortunate. So be careful which shields and guns you give them, because as you can see here, he can't fire the gun. Actually, now he can. There, he's hitting his own shield. So that's something to think about. And you can't drop the shield either, it doesn't look like. What's standard mode? I don't know what that means. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to see if we change the order of this, can we fix it? Maybe put the sword in the other hand and the gun in the front one. I mean, you could obviously just give them a rifle and alleviate that, but then he doesn't look like a Space Marine sergeant, you know? They have to have their melee weapon. Okay, so he's exactly the same, which is really unfortunate. Okay, well, that's enough for the Space Marines for now. Let's go ahead and look at some of the other races. So let's look at the Chaos Marines next. They're probably going to be the most formidable. So we've got Khorne Berserker. Not sure what these guys are, but they're above. So generally, as you go down, they get more expensive and better. This one's a little bit out of order, so I don't know if they're supposed to be better than the Chaos Space Marines. Based on the name and how much they cost, I imagine they would be. But let's take a look and see. So they've got Chaos Heavy Bolters, they've got standard Chaos Bolters, and as you can see, the prices for these things aren't balanced very well. So the Chaos Marine was 200 gold, a regular Ultramarine was like 300, and the Bolter was over 100, I believe. This one's only 40. But let's go ahead and bring one of these guys in and see what he looks like. And while we're waiting for him to drop, let's call in a regular Chaos Marine as well. So we'll just call in this guy, and we'll give him... Let's do a Heavy Bolter, because we haven't seen any heavy weapons yet. Oh yeah, so he's got really fancy armor. The animations for this bolter aren't nearly as cool as the Ultramarine ones, but the armor looks pretty cool. And let's see... Oh, he can't jump nearly as far either. So mobility is definitely going to be an advantage for the Ultramarines, but scale-wise, they're pretty close, so that's good. And here's the regular Chaos Marine. He does have a small jetpack, but he doesn't have nearly as good a range. And let's take a look at this gun. Ooh. That's going to be a lot of fun. And look at that penetration, too. That goes pretty deep into the dirt. Wow, you could dig all the way into a base with that. Alright, let's look at some of the other guys here. So who else do we have for the Chaos Marines? We've got Plague Marines. That's pretty cool. Let's give him a Chaos Plasma Rifle. We'll call him in right here. And then we'll call in a Raptor, which should just be like an Assault Marine variant for the Chaos. And we'll give him a Plasma Pistol, and do they have anything? Ooh, a Chain Axe, okay. So we'll see how that works out. We'll call him in over here. So where did that guy go? Oh, there he is. Plague Marine. So again, not very mobile. I don't know that they do any kind of like plague damage or anything. I don't know if Cortex Command supports that. Oh wow. So apparently that does friendly damage. Yeah, we just slaughtered that guy. It seems like it wants to go right through them, but oh, okay, so if it hits the ground near them, it'll kill them. Let's see, here's our Raptor. He's too heavy to use his jetpack, so that's not good. Let's see, same thing here. If it hits the ground, it'll do friendly damage, so that's something to keep in mind. And the axe is actually a separate weapon. I can't tell if it's actually doing anything. It sounds like it is, but it doesn't seem to be. It won't dig through ground anyways. But yeah, there's the raptor. So, you know, we won't be playing as Chaos Marines the first time around, at least. But what I would probably recommend is only giving them a pistol so that they'll be more mobile. But as you can see, so far the Ultramarines have had a huge advantage in mobility. So that will work out pretty well for us. Although it might not be very fair. We will be turning up the difficulty, by the way. And then let's see, the Lords of Chaos is going to be the final one. Let's give him a autocannon Reaper. It'd be kind of confusing if they use these because they look very similar to the Ultramarines up or from a distance. What was that? Okay, you are stuck. But that gun is pretty devastating. There we go. That has a lot of ammo too. Okay, that's going to be a pretty formidable weapon. Alright, so let's see. We already looked at the tools that they had, right? It was just the chain axe. So let's go ahead and move into... we'll do the Necrons next since they're next in line. And so we'll call in just a regular Necron warrior. And let's give him a basic Necron gun. Looks like they only have one. What kind of tools do they have? Necron Wraithclaw, okay. So they only have this option. Actually, you know what? If I remember right, the Necrons are a little bit weird. And I think they spawn with guns. So let's call one in and see if I remember right. Because I think they do spawn with weapons already attached. Yeah. So they do. And it's this really slow firing gun. It just fires a generic bullet. Again, so far most of these have been a little bit disappointing compared to the Ultramarines. It doesn't look like it wants to shoot straight either, or something's going on with it. But yeah, the Ultramarines are the only ones that have actual animated bolts. So there's our basic Necron. Let's call in, if they already have weapons attached, we can call in a few at a time. So let's bring in the next three. So we've got the Necron Immortal, the Necron Lord, and the Necron Destroyer. There's also monoliths apparently. I don't know how that will go if that drops into a game. That might be like game over. But we will see. Yeah, from the look of it, this thing's probably not going to have very good range. Where did they come in? Okay, here they are. Okay, so here is the... Who are you? I don't know. It won't tell me. Okay, but he's got a staff that shoots weird bullet particle effects. And he's got a very heavy looking weapon, and he doesn't seem to be able to stand up with it. But that looks like it would probably one-shot an enemy. And then this thing's got tank treads and actually can jump pretty far. And apparently fly somewhat. I don't know that that's supposed to do that. Okay. So these things would probably be pretty deadly if they can just fly around indefinitely. And this gun seems to fire a lot further and faster than the other Necron weapons. And so let's see, the Deathmark and the Wraith, and I'll call in the Monolith on its own, because that might get a little bit hairy. Whoops, no, there we go. So that's got a cool sound effect, but it fires extremely slowly. It does have better range though, so this is more like a Necron sniper type character from the looks of it. And the name Deathmark would, you know, sort of imply that. And then here we've got this little guy who just... This is the Wraith. He just sort of attacks stuff in melee. And it seems like he can teleport, yeah. So that's kind of cool. I don't know how well the AI will be able to utilize that, but yeah, he just does melee attacks really close. And so now we'll take a look at the monolith. And I'm sure this is going to be a complete disaster, but we'll see how it goes. Oh, we crushed him. Let's see. So this moves really slowly. And it does, I imagine, ungodly amounts of damage. It takes forever to fire, though, so that's something. It's also really slow. Interesting. The cooldown on that gun is really, really slow because it's still not letting me fire. But yeah, so that's the monolith. And we're taking a little bit too long here, so let's jump into the orcs. And we'll just call in a couple of them at once. But we're going to do it on the orc Landa. And let's call it in on... Where's a decent crowd of people? Right here. And we'll take a look at what happens. Yeah, so that's the orc dropship. Let's get him out of the way. Let's see, we've got the... I think this is a slugger boy because he's got a axe or something that he swings. Here we've got a... this is either the Gretchen or like a Git. And then here we've got another... Oh, apparently they come in like pairs. Or threes? I don't know. But here's another, looks like another slugger boy. One of them is a shooter boy, but it must have been him because he had a gun. And I didn't mean to click two Gretchens, so okay. What else do we have here? We've got the... basically the heavies. So I'll call in those three. And we'll go ahead and drop them on these guys. The Ultramarines also have a unique dropship. It's just what you'd assume. You know, a Space Marine drop pod. Okay, so these guys look very, very similar. I think they're just a little bit more difficult to kill. They have guns, though. And let's see. This is the Storm Boy. He's got an axe and a machine gun. And then here's the heavy guy. Wow, okay, that thing is pretty powerful. So this is basically your heavy bolter, your storm bolter, but it has significantly more ammo. And now let's look at the final two orcs. The commandos and the knob. And we'll just call it in right here. This might get messy. Yeah, it doesn't seem to do friendly damage. Or I guess it did a little bit, but it didn't kill him. And so here is... Okay, he's invisible. What a mess. Okay. Probably shouldn't have been dropping them in like that. Let's see. This is the commando. And he lost his legs, or partially lost them. He's got a pretty heavy machine gun as well. Shoots, I think, the fastest of anything we've seen. And I might need to call in another knob because I think the other one died. So I'm going to call in a knob on... We'll do the Space Marine one just because I forgot to show you guys that. So if I can line this up, there we go. So we'll do the Ultramarine drop pod, which is free. That's kind of cheap. We could use like a deep strike or something, but I think that's like instant. So the drop pod at least takes time. It just doesn't cost anything. Here it comes. Looks pretty cool though. Oh, so that was the knob. Okay, I thought he'd be bigger and more mean looking. Oh well. So that was the orcs, and let me just show you their guns really quickly. We saw most of them. We've got the shooter, the stealth shooter, the big shooter, the Killa Big Shooter, the Daft Gun, the Slugga, the Grot Pistol, Grot Scout Pistol, and the Flamethrower. So that was the orcs. Actually, let's see. Do they have tools? It doesn't seem like they do. No, they don't. Okay, so that just leaves the Tau. And the Tau have a couple things. Let's close the orcs, because that'll just make this even harder. I'm going to call in all the different warriors here, just so we can get a look at them. And we'll just keep them on the Space Marine drop pod, unless they don't. Yeah, they don't seem to have their own. Actually, let's do a deep strike and see how that looks. Okay, apparently they take fall damage from that, so that's a thing. These guys can't jump very well, and these guns seem to have really short range from the looks of it. How about these guys? That looks like it'll be a little bit longer range, and yeah, it's got a pretty ridiculous zoom on it. It doesn't seem to track the round very well, though. Be hard to tell if you were getting shot at with one of these. And here, this is like an SMG. It just fires fast and short. And then here, that looks like it's either a machine gun or a sniper rifle. Okay, that's some kind of sniper rifle, apparently. Some kind of like explosive shell sniper rifle. Alright, so that was all of your basic fire warriors. And that guy must have been the Pathfinder marksman, the last one there. And then we'll call in, let's see, the battle suit. We'll do all 3 battle suits. And they're going to take fall damage as well. I probably should have changed that up. Okay, so let's see. We've got this battle suit here. He's got like some kind of Gatling gun. He's got a pair of them, actually. And so they do fire really fast, but there is a wind-up. I don't know if you noticed that at the beginning, but there is a wind-up before it fires. This guy has one of the... Whoa. Okay, there we go. He's got basically a bigger version of the sniper rifle we saw that fires explosive shells. And they do small bits of friendly damage if they hit the ground. And I think the other guy died. So let's call him in again, and we'll use the assault drop or something. Let's see how that looks. And then we'll look at the last couple, and then I will leave it up to you guys to decide which factions we should fight against. Oh, is this the stealth battle suit? Okay, so apparently you can't see him. He's invisible. Ah, there he goes. Okay. So he's just got like a short-range machine gun. But yeah, that's not very useful if you can't see them either. I wonder how that works in game. I wonder if the enemies can see him. It would be a little bit redundant if they could. So let's call in the 3 big guys here. I do like that they borrowed the audio from Dawn of War. So they've got, lines that you would hear in the game. So they've got, oh, that's a stealth unit. Let's get them out of here. Okay, so they've got drones. And they seem to have, short range guns as well. Pretty similar to what the Fire Warriors had. What do we got here? What am I controlling? Okay, this thing is really slow, and it's got a Gatling gun that takes quite a bit to wind up, but it seems to be doing pretty decent amount of damage. And then this is another drone with a slightly longer range gun. This fires much slower though. And I think that's pretty much it. We've covered everything that we're going to be seeing in the game, with the exception of like the turrets, which I don't think are going to be that big of a deal. We'll use a couple of them, but the The base builder doesn't include those because for some reason they decided to list them under bodies. So when the auto base builder is building bases, it will not include those in the base builds, or at least not intentionally. So that's something to consider with those. Is we won't be seeing them unless I place them really. I do want to see the Space Marine stuff one more time because I want to figure out how the swords work, because I remember getting them to work before. Oh, there are. Oops. Let's see. So there are Space Marine grenades as well. Orbital Lance Designator. That sounds a bit OP. Stick bombs for the orcs. That seems to be it. And what about in shields? So let's see. Let's try a chainsword. Oops, we're gonna have to do a body first. I want to get a Space Marine working with the melee weapons because I do remember them being able to actually use them. So let's just call in an Assault Marine, and we'll give him a bolter pistol if I can find it. And we'll give him the chainsword. And we'll call him in. And then I'm going to try one other thing. We're going to call in another one, but with a bolt pistol offhand and a power sword. And see how that works. Okay, so here we go. He seems to be able to fire in every direction without any issues. So the chainsword at least doesn't seem to block your fire range. Now this guy, okay, so he can fire as well without the sword getting in the way. Oh, and the sword's actually doing something too. You can see that little flicker there. That's the sword swinging. So that's something to think about, I guess. Yeah, so the swords do work. It's just a matter of, it's kind of buggy with the different weapons here. So yeah, that has been a look at the different factions that we'll be seeing in our next campaign. Please, please, please let me know which ones you guys would like to see. Once again, we'll be playing as the Ultramarines. I've already decided that. Not to say that we won't go back later and play as other factions, but for this campaign, we'll be playing as the Ultramarines. So that leaves the Chaos Marines, the Necrons, the Orcs, and the Tau as the remaining 4 factions to fill the remaining 3 spots. So let me know which ones you'd like to see or which one you would not like to see. And that's how I'll decide which ones we do. I will be turning up the difficulty slightly because if you watch the previous one, we totally steamrolled the opposition. So we'll be turning it up to hard rather than medium. And we'll go from there. Again, there's going to be major balancing issues because these mods were all made by different people. So we could get totally wrecked. We could steamroll the enemy once again. But we won't know until we find out. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you back here for episode 1 of our Cortex Command Warhammer 40k Let's Play.